I'm the first Black playwright since 1991 to premiere a play on Broadway cold, like without it being done previously anywhere. Those kind of stats are, very common when it comes to Black people and Black artists.
So here's my thing. I know all businesses don't pay well, right? Especially in theater. I remember when I first started as a local journalist, my first job was $12,000 a year. I was living, but I was barely living.
Yeah.
And so you have this talent that is undeniable. And what I think that you've done in your early plays that were off Broadway, not
Mhm.
on Broadway, can you tell me the difference? What off
Yeah.
Broadway means versus on Broadway?
Yes. Okay. So Broadway is a very specific group of commercial theaters that usually center around the Times Square area. Um, and they are for profit theaters. So anybody who's doing a Broadway show, for the most part, is doing a show that is produced by a group of producers, and they are in it to make a profit. Whereas off Broadway is usually a nonprofit theater organization who benefit from like donations or sponsors or donors, things like that. And so their budgets are set every year from essentially people who are generous enough to fund their programming. So there's differences there. I mean, each theater, of course, commercial or nonprofit, they all want to have a hit show that makes them a lot of money, but commercial is a different vibe, and that's what's on Broadway.
Okay, so tell me the difference between your early plays. Like you had the African Mean Girls, which it was based
Yes.
on a combination of your experience, your mom's experience, and I just believe I don't know the other. There was another experience. I forgot what it was, but I love the
Yes, yes,
I
it
love this
was
idea.
loosely yeah, it was loosely inspired from the real Miss Ghana pageant in the early aughts, where the Ghana pageant officials went and found a girl who was American born, biracial, but had a Ghanaian father, and brought her to compete in the Miss Ghana pageant. Because they thought they'd have a better shot at Miss Universe in a candidate who was lighter skinned.
Oh.
And it was really quite the scandal in like Ghanaian news media. Obviously, didn't make it across the pond, um, but I thought that was a really unique story of how colorism kind of came into play in a beauty competition. And not that I follow that, I don't follow beauty pageants or anything in a real way, but I have my own experiences with colorism and kind of my own journey into like owning my beauty as a dark skinned Black woman, and always wanted to write about it. And so I put all of that into a play that was set in a high school. And the high stakes thing was that a pageant recruiter was coming, and comedy and drama ensue. So I started, that was my first play that got produced off Broadway, and that was 6 years ago now. um and
You have such a great sense of humor. You
oh,
know what I
thank
mean?
you, I
Like
hope so.
I always say this about Black people. We do trauma the best. Like we really can turn our pain into hilarity or comedy, whatever we
Absolutely.
choose to do. Colorism is a real thing and it's painful, but it's really
Yeah.
funny to look at who we are as people and how we behave. And then if you laugh at it, it's digestible. At least that's how I see it.
I mean, yeah, because we're a people who come from a lot of trauma, and like,
Mhm.
you can't say that at any given time in our existence that we did not find joy in some way. That's the only way we could survive. So, I feel like my baseline as a writer is comedy. I just like that kind of spoonful of sugar mentality when you're telling a story in a similar way. Like Jaja's, like the heart of it is of course about like Harlem, hair braiding, Black women, hair, the diaspora. And then at the center of it is also immigration and like what it's like to be an immigrant woman in this country, and what it's like to come here with an American dream and then kind of meet American reality. So all of that is not going to be easily digestible, and so I think wrapping it up in a comedic space is really helpful. So as long as people keep laughing, then I'm good.
Yeah.
Once they stop laughing, I'll be like, cool, cool, cool. Let me put up my pencils.
Okay, I'm all set. I don't think that'll ever be the case. Jaja's African hair braiding is on Broadway until November 5th. I'm sure there it may stay longer. Tell me more.
Actually,
The
yes.
update.
Breaking news today. We have extended again until November 19th. So we have extended again. The people love it. And so we are going for another 2 more weeks. So we're going now till November 19th.
Congratulations, sis. Just
Thank
proud of you.
you.
I love that all of the settings for your plays take place within the diaspora, and they tell a very interesting story that must be told. And acknowledging hair braiders, like talk about that for a second, because there's so much poetry in what they do and who they are for
Hmm.
us. For us in general,
Yeah,
getting your hair braided, the hair braiding, getting your hair done is a spiritual experience, period, for a Black woman, right?
exactly.
And so
Yes,
I like
yes.
just period. So I love this idea. Tell everybody more about the play.
So JoJo's African Hair Braiding is set in 2019 on a hot summer day, and the play spans over the course of one day. We start at 9 a.m. and we end at 9 p.m. and we just meet all of the hair braiders at this shop. And the central character, the title character rather, Jaja, is getting married, and there's a lot of questions about whether her marriage is really for love or for the convenience of papers. And so
Mhm,
there's a lot of discussion about that, and like I
mhm,
mentioned, immigration throughout the play. And I mean, and it's a huge cast of characters. It's 10 actors on stage, 9 Black women, 1 Black man, and there's 17 different characters. So there's some people who are playing multiple customers and people
mhm,
and vendors and stuff like that who come into the shop. So I really wanted to spread the wealth of like all of the Black people who come into the shop,
mhm.
African women who come in who work at the salon, um, customers who come into the shop, everyone and everything I could think of, I threw into the play. And it was important to me. I wanted to write a like love letter to these Harlem women. They're the heart of Harlem. They're part of the a huge part of the economy of
Mhm,
Harlem, and also kind of telling their story. So many of us who like either grew up in Harlem or go there to hang out, whatever the case, you walk by a lot of these shops. You walk by these women sometimes trying to solicit you to braid your hair in the street,
mhm,
and you don't
mhm.
really know much about them or their lives. And I think this is like really lifting, the curtain on who they are, their experiences, and what their dreams and hopes were. And I feel like there's never been a story that's centered on them in any way. And like you mentioned, like they're a huge part of like Black women's lives. Like my hair braider a week before my wedding, like she saved my life, like it was like everything I needed that day. Like I was having a meltdown. I had a sty in my eye. I didn't get the right hair for the style I wanted. I was feeling stressed out about, family coming in town and all the things. And like in those 6 hours that she did the most beautiful, perfect style of braids that I wanted for my wedding day. She was my therapist, she was my mom, she was my auntie, she was my best friend. Um, and all of that, and I feel like that's all encapsulated in this show. So
Oh, that's
it's
beautiful.
really exciting to be able to put that on a Broadway stage. I never thought I'd get that opportunity, but
Why?
I think the play, well, why would I? Those opportunities never come to, Black people. I mean, I'm the first Black playwright since 1991 to premiere a play on Broadway cold, like without it being done previously anywhere. Those kind of stats are, very common when it comes to Black people and Black artists.
But leave it to a Black woman.
I know.
Won't she do it? Won't we do it? Won't we
I
do
mean,
it?
we
We
will.
will
We
do it.
will.
Because I'm like,
You
why?
know,
And I'm like, why not? Why not? How does
I
it feel
mean,
to
I
be
think
the
us New
first since
Yorkers,
1991? How does it feel?
it feels incredible. It feels humbling. It feels bittersweet, like so many of our those beautiful acknowledgments and wins are. But I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled to be able to share this story and that people are coming out and it just proves that like we when people say representation matters, I know that's like a saying we it has been beaten to death at this point, but like it's so true. I think the show extending multiple times, extending having different audiences come to see the show just proves that like people are starving to have a good time, starving to see themselves on a Broadway stage. And I'm just glad that I'm part of that history.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So let's just take a moment and celebrate that. Don't gloss over that. I think that we oftentimes do amazing things and we're like, what's next? And we're looking ahead. Have you been
Yeah.
able to sit and enjoy the success? Have you been able to understand the accomplishment as you just explained it to me with all the stats
I
or
think I
context?
I think I understand it more every time I say it out loud, you know.
Mm,
um
mhm.
I- when I just sit and think about it or read about it, I don't know that I'm like taking it in, but when I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, that's crazy, that I'm
Wait,
part of that.
you also had one of your off Broadway plays premiere in the UK, and you had, Idris Elba as the production one on the producing team. Like
Yes.
that's just a check, 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 check. Like to me, the next probable step after that is like, okay, I'll be on Broadway. You never thought like I'll be on Broadway. That's
I
next.
mean, I think I'm such a like head down and only peek up, when I
Mhm.
need to kind of person. I'm like just truly driving with no peripheral. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
just like go, go, go. And
Mm.
it's only, and I think you always have those moments where you're like, you're working, you're grinding, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, where am I? Oh my God. Like, how did I even get here? And I know how I got here, but that's part of, I think, my mentality, I guess, is to just really keep working, really keep working through that checklist of like thing of dreams, bucket list things you want to do, and hope that you end up checking them all off. So I don't know. The Idris thing was wild because like it was my UK premiere of my play Schoolgirls I was just talking about. And
Mhm.
I knew that he had been sent the play to possibly come on board to produce, but I just was like, feels far fetched. He seems busy. Like I don't know. We'll
Uh-huh.
see.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And next thing I know, it was like a week later or something like that. I'm sitting on a Zoom with him, and he's just like, "I love it, Jocelyn. It's amazing." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "What is happening?" It was wild.
Everything that is supposed to happen. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. Like, this is
I mean,
exciting. This
look,
is like a big deal.
it's a
You know what I
wild thing.
mean?
You never,
Wait till you wrap
yeah.
this up, if it ever wraps. Like it may keep getting extended and extended and extended. And wait till you see the offers now. Do you have your site set or anything, or we're just back down at the computer writing your own story
Look,
and starring in
I mean, yes, right. There's that.
it?
There's my show, Jocelyn soon come. But
So come.
no, of course. I mean, look, now I'm glad that the writer strike is over. It'd be great to like start focusing on some film and TV things. Really widen the audience. Theater is great, but like film and TV can reach millions, And so that's always going to be a goal of mine, is to be able to create a new TV show or film that the masses can see. So I'm hopeful about that.